Hi, my name is Reverend Deborah Whitlock-Lax, and I'm one of the Associate Ministers of St. Paul AME Church, located at 2024 Ashby Avenue, really close to the Ashby BART station. I am here with a great person of our church, Sister Grace Nunley. She's a very, very, very brilliant light in our community, involved in women's ministry, involved in stewarding, involved, come on, help me out now, because there's such a list. Okay, what else are you about?
Class leader.
Class leader.
Working with our feeding program, which is extremely rewarding. Bible study, our senior group, many wonderful ministries.
Been a member here since 1980, 37 years of ministry. And certainly she's a part of the SAG community, which is really an acronym for the Senior Advocacy Group. One of the things, if this is the first time that you've tuned in, what we're doing is really sitting at the feet, proverbially sitting at the feet of those who have walked the Christian journey for a long time. And certainly, Sister Grace has done that. A prayer warrior, if you ever need a prayer to get through, she is the one to go to. I thought I would ask you today to tell a few stories about how God has provided for you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for just the opportunity to be here. And you also are a light here in our church. God has really blessed me in many, many ways, and it's easy for me to share my story, my testimony of the various experiences. One very significant experience was in 1989 when I worked over in San Francisco for PG&E, and I was at work one day and decided midday to come over to Oakland to visit my sister-in-law, who had just recently had a baby the day before my nephew was born. So I went over to Oakland, spent the midday time there, then went back to San Francisco to complete my workday. At the end of the day, I went to the Transbay bus terminal to catch my bus to do my regular evening route home. And midway across the bridge, right after going through the Treasure Island area of the bridge, anyway, the bus started really shaking, and I'm thinking, wow, this bus driver is really speeding, driving crazy. And then all of a sudden, he stops the bus abruptly. And we hear a lot of noise, and someone says, ooh, there's a sniper, they're shooting. So it was so frightening that everyone on the bus, the passengers, just got down on the floor. And then all of a sudden, we see the bus driver open up the door, take off running, and it's like, where is this man going? And someone looked, and they noticed that the upper tier of the bridge that deck had fallen down in front of the bus. And someone screamed out, the bridge is falling, the bridge is falling. So the passengers got up and ran. Cars on the bridge next to us stopped. People would run out, left their motors running, and we realized that there had been an earthquake. And we ran back to Treasure Island, and at that point someone says, jump in the car, and cars were making U-turns to drive back to San Francisco.
So there were people helping out.
There were people helping out, but it was just, a ridiculous, crazy, frightening experience. Coming back to San Francisco, walking the streets of the city and seeing the debris and just people just not really understanding really what to do at that point. I walked over to the ferry building and caught the first ferry going back to Oakland that took us over to Jack London Square. Got off there, started walking, and was able to catch a bus back to Richmond, where I lived at the time. And on the bus, I ran into a high school friend and an associate minister at the church I grew up in. So we really bonded. We prayed, we talked, we just were there for each other, very supportive. And I was able to make it back home, and that was way before cell phones and all of that experience, but make it back to my in-laws who live in Richmond, members of this church. But anyway, when I entered the home and when I saw my husband and my two daughters and my family, and my father was on the phone talking to my mother-in-law at the time, I just heard, praise God, praise God, praise God. And I knew that it was the prayers that undergirded that whole situation that brought me out of that danger into the loving arms of my family. And for that, I will always be grateful.
So God sent you a messenger, an angel.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, definitely.
With your friend.
Yes.
You know, got you off that bridge and then got you home to a people who've been praying for you.
Yes.
God's
yes.
a provider.
Yes.
Share another
to God
story.
be the glory.
Share another story.
So that was
God.
1989, and moving the calendar forward in the year 2012, my husband and I were at home one morning preparing to come to church. It was on a Saturday morning. We had been working with a group of our members here at St. Paul and Community in preparation of a wonderful fellowship, fundraiser, good time out, crab feed. And that morning the telephone rang and I picked it up. It was my daughter calling from a local hospital saying that she was there with her husband and their little toddler, our grandson. And her husband was in intensive care because of an automobile accident. And it was a very terrible accident, and there was a tragedy. And
he survived, right?
He survived.
Okay.
He survived. He was banged up, but he survived. And she was there with his family. But also it was a situation where it was a DUI situation where my son-in-law was involved as the driver. So that just rocked our world.
Okay.
We immediately gathered our thoughts, came to church, transitioned every responsibility we had for that craft feed, went straight to the hospital and stayed and prayed, and it was just family time. Other siblings, other relatives were coming. We had prayer, powerful experiences going for hours. And I must say that what was interesting is as I look back on that, it came when we were so proud and just so overjoyed about everything that was happening in our family. My daughters had both purchased their homes and the family was growing and all these things. And then it's like, wow, out of nowhere.
World collapse.
Out of nowhere. I had a prayer room in my house that since then, because my daughter and her family moved in with us, my prayer room turned into a bedroom for my grandchildren. You know, things just sort of changed. So anyway, what I want to say is that no matter what you go through, God is still in control. I can speak with joy. We can laugh, our families together. My son-in-law has gotten his degree in theology. We as a family know that you can go through tests, you can go through challenges, but God will be with you and he's in it all the way. So praise God, stay connected to God no matter what. He will provide, he will love you, and we must love each other.
Man, that's a pretty powerful testimony. That our life can change at any moment and at any time, and sometimes in a just a crazy great way, and sometimes it costs and sacrifices causes us to have to sacrifice our life and our future, and certainly you've had to experience a little bit of that. Listen. We're going to cut for a commercial. We're going to come back and have a little bit of devotion. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.